Oh, my name is Edward Y. Chang Jr. I'm named after my father. I'm the number one son of Edward Chang, and I was brought up in Mākena. I was born in 1932, and I went to ʻuluʻula High School, Grammar School. As a child, this is 1932. We only had one road to Mākena, and it came from ʻuluʻula. It was a dirt road. You could always tell when someone was visiting because it was a dirt dust trail all the way coming down. It's about 6 miles from ʻuluʻula, right? So you knew who was coming. You didn't know who was coming. You knew someone was coming because of the dirt trail, because that's the only way they got to Mākena. There was no road from Kihei to Mākena. Although the Pilina Trail was put in 1500, somebody closed it. We know all who that is. And it was a big landowner. And he decided he needed security and the road was closed, so the only road we had. And it's yet to be decided who really owned that road. You know, I don't know how a road can be open for so long to the public and be private a number of years later. And that's what happened. They closed that road. We no longer can go up to ʻuluʻula anymore, and because it's a private road. Not like it is today. Our ocean, the water was sparkling. You know, we had rain and we had runoff and etc. But you could see the coral, you could see the stuff glisten, you could see the fish. We had fish that live in the coral. Now, you don't see the coral, and there's no more fish in the coral. And all these things that supposedly fish live on, those bigger fish live on, are all gone. You know, we lived off the ocean. Mākena, low in water source, and our biggest food source was really the ocean. We ate seafood 3-4 times a week. And when we throw net or catch fish, if we didn't eat the fish, we dried it. So we always had fresh fish or dried fish, you know, and we knew the seasons of fish, when moi came out, when akule came, when the vana was ripe, you know, all these kind of things that people don't even pay attention to anymore, I don't think. But we don't go vana fishing until a certain time of the year. And people used to say, oh, when the keawe flowers are blooming, or the keawe tree is blooming, the vana would be ready. But fishing, we only caught enough to eat for that day. That's how we had to live. We had no refrigerator, no electricity. So we had kerosene lamps and gas lamps, and later on we had a generator. But, you know, life was much more simple then. And I really think planning was easier because you didn't have this vast choices. You had these choices, you know, and that's it. You know, even the stores that we had then was not as plentiful as today. You know, where do you go when you buy canned goods? Well, my mother used to buy canned goods by the case each month. Canned sardine, canned salmon, canned pork and beans, canned corned beef, and the rest was all canned vegetables. We ate a lot of canned stuff because we couldn't grow it here. You know, my father was a pig farmer, not a vegetable farmer. And Mākena didn't have water, so anyway. Well, when I was a kid, this is before World War II. You see, World War II came, and the family houses there were all torn down. And they put a cannon in the Kukiko property, and they put a pillbox in the Kukiko property, and they put a barracks, and the soldiers lived there for about 3 years. So the way we lived then was quite a bit different. The way we lived before that was off the ocean. You know, we dried meat, dried fish, ate the stuff pretty fresh, more fresh than you eat today, you know, because they came off the ocean, not off a refrigerator. And in regards to Mākena, after World War II, Kihei Road opened, and we got a heavy influx of visitors. I mean, local people, but, you know, it changed how we lived. Security became an issue. Before, we never locked our doors. And because we all knew the next door neighbor. There was one way in and one way out. And by the way, they had to pass our house to get out if they came in. Now we have two alternatives. And people were just amazing how many people came. You know, just like you see today on weekends. People came in their pickups and they camped and et cetera, but there was more plentiful in the ocean. Our water was beautiful. The fish was plenty. Now, I can't even, the places we used to throw net, we used to alternate. We throw over here, the next day we throw over there, and we alternate. Like every week we throw once over here. Can't do that anymore because there's no fish. You look at, all you see is coral. You know, you don't see fish. It's completely different. And then when you're looking at it, the water's lepo. It's dirty, you can't see. And then when you look out, there's too many people around. This is what tourism has done for us. I think to a point, it upset Mākena's ecology. You know, the way we live, the way the animals live, the way the fish lived. And they had a hard time coping with us, and I think now they're coping really. They don't have much problem living here. They're gone. I don't think they're coming back too fast. You know what, I think the state has to do more planning on rejuvenating our fish, whether it's moi or manini, etc., the local fish. What they've done is they brought a couple fish here, and they became so aggressive that they're eating our fish. You know, our keiki fish. And when I was in Kalalave, and people seeing all kinds, you know, menpachi, aveveo, and I'm fishing, and all I'm catching is ta'api. And I don't like ta'api. You know, that's my call on that. They did the wrong thing. We should have been generating our own species as opposed to bringing in new species that wasn't as good as our old species that we had. Somebody's idea was, I don't know, it didn't plan out. That's all I can tell you. I think they already know how the experience, you know, whatever happened, Mākena, happened elsewhere in Hawaii. And I know what they won't experience what I experienced, but Mākena is still better than most places. And as far as the beach, no rain, always warm, peaceful. You know, you can see where the sun rises up because the mountain's over there, and you can watch the sun move from one time of the year to the other time of the year. And it's such a nice experience because you don't get to experience nature the same way in other parts of the world. You know, I was a farmer in Mākena helping my father raise pigs. I went to Lahaina Luna as a boarder, and I was a poultry foreman, and I learned to raise chickens. I went to college, and I took up biological science because I wanted to learn the more scientific part of raising plants. And there is so much to learn that and so much advance in technology that you know, that's why I asked some of the questions I was raising, and without saying, because even Hawaiians had a scientific way of doing it. Maybe you don't call it scientific, I call it, but it's knowledge that you learn from someplace, someone. Like he said, we follow the sun. We grow the plants in the direction of how the sun sets and how the sun rises. And you know, those are things that people take for granted. They really take for granted. And you know, in order for you, you know, like I asked him, what kind of nutrients you use? Well, you know, we can elaborate how I learned nutrients, how a white man does it, and etc. I'm not complaining how he taught me. I think the knowledge is if you apply it. whether you're an organic farmer or we're a Hawaiian farmer, there's a lot of knowledge to learn about those events and how you cope with it and how you raise it that has benefits that maybe has not been documented yet. You know what I'm saying? I asked him what kind of insects you have. Well, he didn't really say, but evidently one of the things that happens when you raise healthy plants, you don't get too many insects. And that's true with modern day farming as opposed to yesterday's farming, you know? So, well, I think the people stayed healthy in Mākena because of what Mākena was. You know, Mākena is the kind of area where if you're young enough to move, you get up and move around. And, you know, if you don't move, your body doesn't work right. And older people, you know, like I'm getting older now, the less I move, the harder it is for me to move when I get up in the morning. So I think Mākena benefits that way. When you get up, you kind of have to do it yourself. You got to make your own breakfast. You got to walk around the house. There's nothing to stop you. There's no interference from other people, you know, like there is living in a city. So, yeah, those benefits are, you know, unchallenged. It is what it is. I lived in the city, and I locked my kids out from going out because there were times it wasn't safe for them to do it. Now, if they were living at that point in time when my kids were younger, they were living in Maui and Mākena, they'd have free run of the place, you know, and that's the difference. Well, it's definitely management. We're allowing too many people to go at the same place at the same time. And that does not make any sense. You know, if you did that in the old days, you get 10 people. If you did that today, you get 100 people. It is the numbers that are killing us. It's not making any comfortable for them, it is for us. And we allow it to happen because of, you know, and it's not so much the normal activity, it's this commercial activity that's, you know, the kayaks, the scuba divers, they're invading places that they shouldn't be allowed to. There has to be a limit to that sooner or later. And, you know, that's an outstanding question, because I think some of the people that come here now leave not liking what they had because of what's happening. And I think, you know, that's one of the things that if we control, like I tried to do earlier, you know, we just got to get hard, fast rules that only so many people can habitate a certain area in a certain fashion.